Now, that, my friends, is what we call a big boy win for the 49ers. They were not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think they were expected to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think anybody expected this to be easy against a good Minnesota team, but the 49ers found a way to make it work. 34-26 the final. And because of their efforts, because of this victory, the 49ers are now on the inside of the NFC playoff picture. Completely wild because it was just about a month ago, maybe even less than a month ago. We were sitting here after the 49ers were in their Kafka esque nightmare following the game against Arizona, where they couldn't even beat Colt McCoy and a team that was missing 4 or 5 key starters. And here the 49ers are, having ripped off a 3-game win streak. They're at 6-5. The schedule is manageable the rest of the way. And I mean, if stuff continues to play out the way that it's currently playing out, the 49ers are going to be playing some real January football. I'm not just talking week 18 against the Rams, I'm talking the actual NFC playoffs. And at this rate, the 49ers might have a chance to get a home game in the playoffs. I don't think the division's really on the table unless the Cardinals completely collapse. You have to give Arizona the tip of the cap because they continue to play well, and it just mathematically is not probable at all that anybody catches them, especially the 49ers in the West. But hosting a playoff game is still on the table for the 49ers because after what they did to Minnesota today, they are very much in the picture, and they could start taking this to more serious levels. It's still going to be a week by week thing, but boy, was that impressive from the 49ers today. This was a what it takes win. Good teams deliver what it takes wins. And by what it takes win, I mean that neither the offense nor the defense are presented a perfect set of ingredients. Good teams are able to win when the two primary phases of the game are not presented with a perfect set of ingredients. We use the 2019 49ers as a model. And that team obviously had a ton going for it, but it also won some games where neither the offense nor the defense was perfect. You just have to. In a league that's as competitive as the NFL, stuff is not going to be roses all the time. And you have to find a way to just, clench your teeth and get the job done when the going gets tough. So when I think back to the 2019 49ers, I think back to week 3 against Pittsburgh, 5 turnovers, 49ers still found a way to pull a win out at the end. I think about the second matchup that the 49ers had with the Arizona Cardinals when they fell behind 17-0, but thanks to Jimmy Garoppolo and Jeff Wilson there at the end, still found a way to make it work. I think to the second matchup against the Rams in week 16, where the Rams, in many efficiency metrics, outplayed the 49ers. But somehow, some way, the 49ers, despite not having any interior pass protection against Aaron Donald at all, they found a way to put together the game-winning drive at the end. And all of those games combined, you could even put the Seattle game, week 17, into that, grouping because the defense wasn't great against Russell Wilson down the stretch. In all of those games, the common theme was the 49ers did what it took to get a win, and that pushed them to the number 1 seed, and obviously that number 1 seed pushed them all the way to the Super Bowl. This 2021 season has not gone nearly as well as the 2019 season, but as you see, the 49ers are still in playoff contention. And they're still going to need some what it takes wins to maximize their chances of going on a real playoff run. So right now in the scrum of the NFC at 6-5, the 49ers need to find a way to replicate what they did against the good Minnesota Vikings team on Sunday, and that's find a way to scrounge out a victory. We can go through our 5 keys here to talk about what exactly happened in this game, and you could see I'm still dressed from the game. I had a burrito on my way home, but still have the blazer on. Wanted to get this to you guys on Sunday night while you're certainly still very excited from the win. Make sure to follow, right, or subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Lombardi himself. Subscribe to the YouTube channel right here. If you enjoy this content, we'll try to keep on creating more. But yeah, we're going to revisit the 5 keys to the game and take you through some of these and hopefully highlight some of the articles from my colleagues here on The Athletic as we do it. So key 1 was to beat Minnesota's 2-shell defense. The Vikings came into this game beaten up on the defensive side of the ball. especially along the line. They were missing Everson Griffin. They're missing Dalvin Tomlinson. They're missing Daniil Hunter. But the Vikings were still strong up the middle on the second and third levels. And by that, I mean Eric Kendricks, their linebacker, and their safeties, Xavier Woods and Harrison Smith. The Vikings like to play a lot of too high safety, and that has proven challenging for Jimmy Garoppolo in the past. Remember, the matchup against the Vikings did not go well for him in the playoffs to end the 2019 season. The key for the 49ers in this game, as I outlined in our video pregame show on Friday, was to put the Vikings defense in a position that could be manipulated. Get them out of their natural too high alignment, sucker them down into a single high safety look as much as possible, and use that single high safety look to play this game downhill. And the 49ers were able to do that for the most part. They're able to play this game on their terms. Right here, I have a game book and the box score, so I'm going to be looking at this every once in a while. But end of the day, 49ers had 39 rushes for 208 yards. It's 5.3 yards per carry. That tells you that they executed the formula. Now, it's not as simple as just running the ball 40 times into a brick wall and hoping that it works. Yes, that is essentially what the 49ers did to beat the Vikings a couple years ago. It was 47 rushes at 4 yards a carry. It was a methodical win where the 49ers just grounded out and they're able to overcome a lackluster performance from Jimmy Garoppolo to win. But back then, the 49ers had an excellent defense that was top of the league. That defense is no longer top of the league, even though they did some really admirable things today at crunch time. Now the 49ers need more from their offense. They need explosiveness, and they needed to dictate game flow with their offense and not the defense. So that's why their manipulation of what Minnesota did defensively with that, standard two-shell defense, that's why what the 49ers did today was super impressive. It wasn't a great start for the 49ers. Remember, Jimmy Garoppolo threw that interception that was inexcusable. Kyle Shanahan wasn't happy about it. It was a bad play call for that third down situation. But Jimmy Garoppolo needs to know when that play call is not going to go anywhere and he can't force that ball in there. That gave Minnesota some early momentum in this game. They scored a touchdown off of that interception. But when the 49ers got to work, they did a great job. That ties right into key number 5 that I had. Jimmy Garoppolo needs to keep it up. And I think he kept up the efficient play. 17 to 26, 230 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Yes, that pick was very, very troublesome early on because it put the 49ers in a hole that they really haven't dealt with throughout the course of this 2-game win streak, right? They got on top of the Rams. They got on top of the Jaguars. But the way the 49ers offense responded, the way Garoppolo responded after that pick was excellent. They got that Deebo Samuel touchdown run, came a play after an Elijah Mitchell cutback run and big first down pickup. Both of those were perimeter-based runs that the 49ers went to after they suckered the Vikings into single high safety formation where the Vikings were firing up the middle. They were trying to take away some interior runs that the 49ers had initially established, and then the 49ers burned them on the edge, right? Deebo Samuel, that was an impressive touchdown over there on the edge, part of his 66 rushing yards on the game. Well, as this game progressed, the 49ers were able to pull strings correctly offensively to essentially constantly be a step ahead of the Minnesota Vikings. So that's why you see the final box score with 208 rushing yards. That's why you see Garoppolo with 230 very efficient passing yards. That's why you see Brandon Ayuk with 3 catches for 91 yards. That's 30 yards a catch from Brandon Ayuk. At every single critical juncture, Brandon Ayuk was delivering for the 49ers because you have Deebo Samuel in the backfield taking some of the load off of Elijah Mitchell. You have Deebo Samuel being shadowed everywhere he goes on the field, and you have the defense also focusing on George Kittle. So the 49ers need that third threat, and they need him to be explosive. And they have limited opportunities for him to deliver explosively because they want to run so much, right? So Jimmy Garoppolo had 26 throws, but in a game where the 49ers ran 60-plus plays, 26 throws is not that many. They have to make those throws count. And Brandon Ayuk made those throws count. That's how you get to what it takes win. You're not perfect offensively at the start, but you hit that rhythm as the game gets going. And that's how the 49ers were able to really, I think, put on what was an impressive offensive performance against the defense that had tormented them in the past. And by torment, maybe it's a bit of a strong word, but the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins in particular, had performed better than Jimmy Garoppolo in the past. In 2018, remember the first game after Jimmy Garoppolo signed his big contract, the Vikings took it to the 49ers in Minnesota. 3 picks for Garoppolo. That was ugly. 2 weeks later, he tore his ACL. 49ers came back with a great defense in 2019. Yes, they beat the Vikings, but Garoppolo wasn't particularly good in that game. And the 49ers really just rode Nick Bosa and Dee Ford to that win. I mean, they were roaring around the edges. This time, they didn't have those guys. So this was going to be up to the entire team. It was going to have to be a team victory to get it done against Minnesota. And I think that you saw Jimmy Garoppolo do his part, atoning after that first interception. So that was really key. Key number 2 for me earlier this week or on Friday was to expose the Vikings' inconsistent run blocking. The 49ers were going to have to do something to slow Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and this offense. And I think they were able to slow this offense in a way that wasn't exactly overpowering, but it was indicative of the formula that the 49ers will need to win this season. And this is what I wrote about. Inside the 6 opportunistic plays of the 49ers defense rode to a winning effort. I'm going to put this in the comments section. There were 6 plays, and by the way, $1 a month right now for the Athletics, so you can check this out. Charles Omenihu's early tackle for a loss, Nick Bosa's sack, Azeez Al-Shire's interception, Kevin Givens' forced fumble, Talanoa Hufanga's pass breakup, and that disciplined final defensive drive. Two of those plays featured the 49ers exposing the Vikings' inconsistent run blocking. Entering this game, the Vikings had 24% of their run plays blown up at or behind line of scrimmage. That was the worst rate in the league. The 49ers needed to continue to blow up Vikings run plays to put Kirk Cousins behind schedule. Well, what do? On drive number 3 for the Vikings, it's 3rd and 2. Dalvin Cook has a very manageable situation. Charles Omenihu, freshly acquired 49ers edge rusher, lines up on the far side of the field, blasts off the ball, takes Dalvin Cook back down in the backfield, blows up the drive. 49ers get the ball back. Fast forward to the second half, the Vikings are in another situation where they could potentially wrestle control of the game back from the 49ers. Kevin Givens blows a play up and tackles Dalvin Cook in the backfield, forces a fumble. Cook actually gets hurt on the play, is carted off the field. But that fumble that Kevin Givens forces allows the 49ers to continue padding their lead in the second half. Those are 2 great examples of the 49ers firing off the ball and exposing the Vikings' inconsistent run blocking. And what happened at that point is that the 49ers were able to put Kirk Cousins in inopportune spots. And even though he had an advantage throwing to Justin Jefferson, even though Adam Thielen was probably better than anybody covering him for the 49ers in the back end, Cousins behind the sticks was not in an ideal spot to be more efficient than Jimmy Garoppolo in this game. So the 49ers did a good job of executing key number 2, and you could look at that Omenihu play, and you could look at the Kevin Givens play as good examples of that. Key number 3 was work on that interior Minnesota offensive line. Those guys do not pass protect well. Well, Azeez Al-Shire had a huge pick. I mean, it felt like 2019 all over again there for a little while, right? In the middle of, or at the very start of that third quarter, in the middle of the game, when the 49ers were in the midst of their 21-0 run. But they scored those 2 quick touchdowns coming right out of the break. And right in between those 2 scores, Azeez Al-Shire had the pick of Kirk Cousins standing right in front of Adam Thielen. Well, if you go back and watch that play, the 49ers get push up the middle. And if there's one true kryptonite for Kirk Cousins, it's pressure up the middle, because the guy's not very mobile, and he has thrown turnover-worthy passes as recently as last week against the Packers. There was like 3 of them for Kirk Cousins. So he got away with them in that game, Kirk Cousins did. But the 49ers needed to continue applying pressure up the middle, because that's where Minnesota is weak. What did DJ Jones do? He pushed that pocket right up against center and guard. Azeez Al-Shire, as part of a halftime adjustment that saw the 49ers want to get somebody underneath Adam Thielen, who had made a few catches in the first half. Azeez Al-Shaair was right in place. And I mean, this was a game where Fred Warner left with injury, where Dre Greenlaw left with injury, and Azeez Al-Shaair was there opportunistically to get the job done. So Azeez Al-Shaair stepped up, and opportunism is the recipe. You've heard me say this over and over again. The 49ers this season, because they're not the 2019 defense, they're going to have to win with offensive explosiveness and defensive opportunism. Well, today that formula was made even a little bit more complicated because the 49ers special teams were absolutely terrible. They lost a good 2 possessions worth of points on special teams between the kick return touchdown that they gave up and the field goal that Robbie Gould missed at the end of the game. So the offense and the defense had to do a little bit more of that formula. They had put the 2021 formula, and they had to put it on steroids. That meant that explosiveness was going to be key for the offense. Red zone efficiency was going to be really important. And the defense was going to have to come up with a few more crunch time plays than it had before. And I talked about that here inside the 6 opportunistic plays the 49ers defense rode to a winning effort over the Vikings. I brought back that Green Bay game in week 3 because that was an example of what not to do if you're the 49ers defense, right? 37 seconds remained. Aaron Rodgers had no timeouts. The 49ers led 28-27. You have to make the stop. You have to find a way to play good situational football and make the stop in that situation. The 49ers didn't. Aaron Rodgers made 2 passes. Mason Crosby kicked the game-winning field goal. And that week 3 loss completely changed the narrative of the 49ers season, really up until the point of this Sunday's game against the Vikings. That showed you how damaging not delivering opportunistically can be. And the 49ers still regret that loss in week 3. Well, they got a chance to atone today against the Vikings. A minute 56 remained when Kirk Cousins came back out on that field. He trailed by 8. He had every opportunity to lead the Vikings down the field and tie the game. But what did you see? You saw disciplined defense from the 49ers. You saw Emmanuel Moseley and Azeez Al-Shaair pretend like they were allergic to the sideline in a good way. They didn't let the Vikings get there on their tackles. They made that clock tick. It wasn't spectacular on the final play of the game, but you saw Josh Norman and Talanoa Hufanga deliver great pass coverage, technique-wise on Justin Jefferson, and they made Kirk Cousins be perfect to beat them. Guess what? Kirk Cousins wasn't perfect, and the 49ers won. This is what it's going to take for the 49ers moving forward. They're going to have this kind of explosive offensive effort, and they're going to have to cobble together a defensive performance that's good enough, and that's what they did in this game. Let's move on to key 4 because that's related to what I was just talking about. Norman and Moseley have to do well enough versus Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Remember, I wrote this on Friday before the game. So this is how closely the 49ers followed the script that they needed to execute. Norman and Moseley did do well enough. I know Norman missed that tackle on Dalvin Cook on the touchdown for Minnesota. He's trying to punch the ball out. Didn't work out. But Norman did punch a ball out later in the game. It was his 7th forced fumble, leads the NFL. 49ers didn't recover, so whatever. That was a wash. But Norman covered well at the very critical junctures when this game needed him to cover well, and you have to give him credit for that. The 49ers are a rush over coverage team. They're not getting all too much pass rush right now because I think they could really use Dee Ford on the other end. But Nick Bosa got the sack when the 49ers needed, and the coverage held up well enough, as I wrote right there, right under me. Emmanuel Moseley did well enough. Jimmy Ward, Jaquiski Tartt, those guys all kept it together to an extent that gave the 49ers a chance to control game flow offensively, and that's what they ended up doing in the second half. Finally, key 5, I know I've already put this one up there, but I thought that perhaps the most important play of this game, or one of the most important, because there's so many in a game that's this chaotic and this, tumultuous going back and forth, but the 49ers were backed up on their own goal line, 4th quarter, about midway through. They would go on a drive that took, 7 or 8 minutes. They'd ate up most of the clock, where Robbie Gould missed the field goal. And then Minnesota got it back, had one more chance. But without that clock-chewing drive, who knows where the hell this game goes, right? It's Elijah Mitchell was just bruising. And by the way, quick, side note, very important side note, Elijah Mitchell is a man. 32 touches today for a rookie with 2 separate injuries. Are you kidding me? Rib injury, finger injuries, playing with multiple fractures, it seems. I don't know what's wrong with his ribs, but there is a rib injury there. There is a fracture in his finger. 32 touches, so efficient. The vision on Elijah Mitchell is unbelievable. But He's the one that really churns that 49ers final drive, that shields the defense, lets the 49ers grind some meat, ice this game away. But it doesn't happen if the 49ers, none of that happens if the 49ers don't convert a third down from the shadow of their own goalpost in crunch time, with Jimmy Garoppolo essentially hitting a fadeaway shot in basketball while getting fouled. He was getting hit. He was falling back. He didn't have his top receiver in the game anymore because Deebo Samuel had already exited, and Jimmy Garoppolo found Trent Sherfield to move the chains. And we talk about this all week. You have to earn your way to 39 runs, to 40 runs. Today it was 39 for 208 yards. You earn your way there through the pass game. So that throw to the Trent Sherfield was huge from Jimmy Garoppolo. His longer third down conversions to Brandon Ayuk were indispensable as well. The touchdown to Deebo Samuel was an audible at the line of scrimmage after the 49ers had suckered in that Minnesota defense to the middle. They gave Samuel the sweep to the outside when he was aligned as a runner on the play, and the 49ers ultimately made it work. So Jimmy Garoppolo did keep it up. It was definitely a more roundabout performance than the games against the Rams and the Jaguars, but the 49ers were able to cobble it together when it counted in a way to reach that what it takes win. So much happened today. There's going to be a lot of content that I'm going to come out with. I want to answer some questions right now. I'm going to have to break this up into separate videos over the course of the week. But in summary, the 49ers beat the two shell. They exposed the Vikings' inconsistent run blocking. They exposed the inconsistent interior pass protection. They're good enough on the back end, and Jimmy Garoppolo was good enough, but not great at quarterback to tie it all together, with Elijah Mitchell's manly performance kind of spearheading the way. Opportunism was the recipe for the 49ers, even though they were terrible on special teams, and they won 34-26. I feel like a beautiful mind, Russell Crowe, trying to put together a bunch of pieces there, but that's basically what happened. All right, let's take a look at some of your comments here. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo is good, but not great. I think you nailed it. The people who say that Jimmy Garoppolo is terrible are jealous or something, or I don't know. I don't think anybody's going out there and saying he's great. I just think that people who want to have it black and white and say, oh, he's a terrible quarterback, he's limiting the 49ers, don't really understand football and the contributions that Jimmy Garoppolo is delivering. I mean, he screwed up on interception. You know who else is screwed up? Matthew Stafford has thrown a pick six in 3 straight weeks. Didn't Lamar Jackson throw 4 interceptions today? So if you're the 49ers, you can very, very easily live with Jimmy Garoppolo playing 3.5 quarters of really efficient football and leading a win in which your offense puts up 34 points. The Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers didn't put up 34 points last week against the Vikings. If they had, they would have won the football game. So Jimmy Garoppolo was good today. He overcame the early mistake, and he made some money throws for the 49ers to convert those third downs. Remember, you don't run if you can't pass. You have to pass efficiently to run as many times as the 49ers did, and Garoppolo certainly did his job then. You want me to answer this question? If Jimmy Garoppolo is good, then why did any team want to trade a first rounder? Please answer. Because he's been hurt every other season, right? So why would you mortgage the future on a guy who really hadn't proven that he could consistently stay healthy? That drove down Jimmy Garoppolo's stock a lot. And that stock is rising with every subsequent win and good game. That's 5 straight good wins for Jimmy Garoppolo now, and the 5 straight good performances for Jimmy Garoppolo. 4 of those 5 games have been wins. They obviously lost in the playoffs. The 49ers will cross the Garoppolo-Lance bridge when they get to it in the offseason. Obviously, the expected plan from the very start of this was that Garoppolo would stay aboard for 2021. Lance would take over in 2022. But if Jimmy keeps on playing well and the 49ers go to the Super Bowl, stuff can change. We don't know yet, and there's no reason to stress about it right now. But simply put, even if the 49ers had been presented a first-round pick, you don't know that they would have traded Garoppolo this season, because there's no way that Trey Lance would be operating the offense at this level of efficiency as a rookie. And as a 49ers fan, you have to be thrilled with what Jimmy Garoppolo has given them the last 5 games. And guess what? I think that the level of defenses the 49ers play will actually go down moving forward, because, as I said, Garoppolo had struggled against the Vikings in the too high look before. He's done well against Seattle in the past, right? Especially this Seattle defense. I think you could take this back to week 17 of 2019. I think he can have that type of game at Seattle next week. The Seahawks are not playing well on that side of the ball. The Bengals haven't been great defensively. And then you get into a much easier part of the schedule, right, with the Falcons. And I mean, the Titans haven't been playing well. I'm getting too far ahead of myself, but you understand the point. The Minnesota Vikings are the second highest rated team the rest of the way on the 49ers schedule, with the highest rated team by DVOA being the Rams in week 18, and the 49ers have already beaten them. So Garoppolo has played well over the past 5 games. All indications are that he should continue to play well over the next 6. So the 49ers have to be happy about that. All right, let's talk about something else rather than Jimmy Garoppolo. Trying to go through. Why does everybody talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and nothing else? Come on. Norman has to line up with Metcalf. I think Lockett is on IR, and I guess Homer. Well, we'll see who Norman lines up against. Today was that last play. Was, I think, wonderfully symbolic of the 49ers finally just executing something right in the very crunch time of a game. I kept on thinking about week 3 against the Packers, and it was the best receiver for the Vikings was Justin Jefferson, and the technique was good for Josh Norman. So I think that was critical for the 49ers. He just has to, he's going to be 34 soon. He's not a young cornerback. He's an old cornerback, if we just want to put it lightly. He's obviously good at punching the ball out. He's obviously not the best tackler anymore. He's obviously a step slower than he was in his prime. But if he plays with technique, and especially if the 49ers can get a guy like D Ford back, but if they continue trying to manufacture this pass rush, and he plays with technique and he gets the safety help the way it should be there with Talanoa Hufanga, if the 49ers just play within themselves, and a lot of that comes from the offense shielding the defense by staying out on the field. And today was 2 huge offensive drives, right? End of the first half, 8 minutes for the 49ers. End of the game, close to 8 minutes for the 49ers. Both of those drives, Garoppolo, Mitchell, people just churning yardage. If the defense is shielded, if Josh Norman could spend more time on the sideline than out on the field, I think he could do the job. I think he has enough plays in him to be fine. And I thought that coverage of Josh Norman on that final 4th down was really emblematic of that. There's so many comments today. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and I am going to just divide this up into multiple videos. I've already been talking for 30 minutes. I think I've kind of covered most of this stuff. Let's go through some of the drives. And then we'll call it a night. Games like this, that just with so many emotional swings, so many momentum swings. The 49ers special teams, by the way, they've got to be better. I'll make a separate video on that. But games like this are just so hard to unpack because so much happened, which is why I call it a what it takes win, right? That's why I go back to this. I mean, you just have to get through the mess on top of the scoreboard. And the 49ers were able to do that. Here are Minnesota's drives. Punt, that was that first 3 and out. That was impressive in the 49ers. They were able to scuttle the script there right away. Then a touchdown. That was 8 plays, 49 yards. That was off of Garoppolo's interception. So that really hurt the 49ers. But then came another punt on a 3 and out. That was the Amenehu stop. Then came Minnesota going 6 plays, 80 yards. Then at that point, didn't look too great for the 49ers because they went up 14-7. That's when the Bosa sack came in. Now, Bosa's got 11 sacks on the year, which, is unreal coming off the ACL tear. But the Vikings, they had a stretch there after their 6-play, 80-yard drive where the 49ers offense had to punt again. Remember the out to George Kittle didn't work on 3rd down. And the Vikings, on a couple downs, used 6 offensive linemen, and they threatened to steal the 49ers formula of hogging the football. It looked like they were going to use the 49ers' own medicine against them. 49ers are going to get a taste of it, right? That it wasn't looking pretty. Something needed to happen. The defense needed to make a play to change the course of the game when the 49ers were down 14-7 and the Vikings were controlling the football. That play was Nick Bosa taking the rookie left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, to school off of that left edge. The big sack of Kirk Cousins. The Vikings punted 3 plays later, And right after that, the 49ers went into their own ball hogging mode. So they became the ball hogs. They went 8 minutes right before the half. Beautiful clock management. They score the touchdown. Vikings don't have enough time to rebut before going to the locker room. And then the 49ers come out and take control of the game with 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. I don't think this game is close if the 49ers don't give up the 99-yard kick return. So special teams allowed the Vikings back into it. But if you really boil this down to this game at its core, at its simplest core, the Nick Bosa sack midway through the second quarter fueled a domino effect that allowed the 49ers offense to take control of this football game. Because I see punt for Minnesota, I see end of half, then I see interception. And it really wasn't, I guess there was a bad drive for the 49ers defense, 5 plays, 75 yards to the Vikings in the third quarter. But the 49ers still would have, firmly controlled this game had they not given up that 99-yard kick return. But then the defense stepped up late in the game. Fumble for Minnesota caused by Kevin Givens against Dalvin Cook, then 2 turnovers on downs. And why don't we talk about that? Goal line stand for the 49ers in the fourth quarter. Talanoa Hufanga, he's showing us that he can cover. He had Tyler Conklin there, tight end for the Vikings, knocked the ball away on third down. That was the series of events where Kirk Cousins lined up under guard. Who knows if that was accidental or if it was a trick play, but it didn't work. Levi's got loud too. That was a cool moment in this game. So the 49ers defense, when push came to shove, really got the job done in this what it takes kind of victory. Those were the Vikings drives. Now the 49ers drives. First one ended in interception. That wasn't good. We've already talked about that. But then Garoppolo bounced back. Touchdown on the next one. Big conversion to Brandon Ayuk on third down. One of his 90, some of his 90 plus receiving yards. 49ers used Mitchell and Samuel to the perimeter. Good audibles. They set Minnesota up. They exposed the two-shell defense. They did what they needed to do by getting Minnesota into that single high safety. Then the 49ers punt it twice in a row. They had 2 3-and-outs in a row, but then they got going with the 15-play, 87-yard drive for the touchdown. This is where complementary football comes in. Nick Bosa and that sack kicked the 49ers into gear. Offense fed off of defense, and that was huge. 2 touchdowns to open the second half. Again, offense feeding off defense because they got that turnover from Azeez Al-Shire in the middle of it. Field goal for the 49ers, then a punt, then another field goal, and then a missed field goal, and then the end of the game. Now, that last made field goal wouldn't have been a field goal had Jawan Jennings just been an inch closer to being in bounds. That was a beautiful throw from Garoppolo to Jennings. Didn't work out. So the 49ers had to kick it. Ended up not mattering. They win this game 34-26. But you just see how wild and chaotic these swings were and how the 49ers were able to make enough happen. And this bodes really well for them moving forward now that they're 6-5. All right, let's see some more comments, and then we'll finish this up. Look at our the 49ers late draft picks pay off this year. Mitchell, Hufanga, etc. Yep. Mitchell, 6th rounder. Talanoa Hufanga, 5th rounder. I mean, great idea for a tweet, right? Jalen Moore didn't play today, but Tom Compton held down decently well right tackle. You know what? Tom Compton's a better run blocker than he is a pass protector. So as long as the 49ers are able to keep the ball on the ground, they can make him look good. And they trust Tom Compton more than Jalen Moore right now. So once Jalen Moore starts playing more, pun intended, then the 49ers can add another late round 2021 draft pick to your little collection here, but not quite yet. Offensively, Garoppolo, Mitchell, Debo, and Kittle are main reasons the 49ers won 4 of the 5 last games. Yeah, I mean, it's been an offense-driven team, but the defense is playing opportunistically. Frank says the 49ers are ascending. The players are taking over the field, no matter how much special teams try to give it away. Yep, special teams, they try to give it away, but the 49ers, that was a great bounce back performance in imperfect conditions from the offense and the defense. And guys, when you can win in imperfect conditions, it says a lot more about your football team than winning in perfect conditions. That's why 2019 was so good for the 49ers. They were able to win in imperfect conditions against Pittsburgh, against Arizona, against Seattle. I mean, hell, even the New Orleans game was in perfect conditions. It was a perfect offensive performance, but it was far from a perfect defensive performance. They were missing a lot of guys, and they were able to overcome and get the job done. Again, it was a what-it-takes win, and we saw really the first what-it-takes win here of this 2021 season for the 49ers in this game. Maybe Philadelphia was a what-it-takes win in week 2. Retroactively, you could categorize it as such, but this felt like a playoff game. This felt a lot bigger. So it was a big one for the 49ers. All right, guys. There's so many things I could talk about, and that's what this week is going to be about. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'm going to divide this up into different areas of coverage. We'll make a few different videos tomorrow. This is the overarching post-game show. I think I went over everything on a peripheral basis, but I'm going to get a lot deeper into it. We'll find out about Deebo Samuel's groin tomorrow. He's undergoing a Monday MRI. We'll find more out about Fred Warner, and we'll start talking about the Seahawks because the 49ers head to Seattle next. But the main things you need to remember are that the 49ers in this game, a what it takes win, are 6-5, and they are absolutely contenders. That's what we learned today. Everybody had said, okay, yeah, they beat the Rams. They might have surprised them on Monday night. Then, of course, they beat the Jaguars because the Jaguars suck. But what are they going to do against the Vikings? This is a good football team that had just beaten the Green Bay Packers. Both Minnesota and the 49ers had a lot to play for today. Well, the 49ers were the better team, clearly, than the Minnesota Vikings today. And both teams spent 60 minutes just punching each other. It was heavyweight battle. Punch, 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 punch. They were landing those punches, but the 49ers came out on top. And that tells you that they're absolutely contenders as we move forward. So remember that. We're going to talk a lot more about this week, but let's keep it level-headed. And let's talk about what this football team needs to do to continue its 3-game winning streak. Everybody subscribe to the channel. Helps me a lot. And I hope that you all have a good night. Hopefully this gives you something to kind of chew on. Remember, subscribe to The Athletic. It's only $1 a month. We have got a lot of good pieces up there. There's mine. There's Marcus Thompson's. Here's Matt Barrow's piece, and here's Tim Kawakami's piece. So Tim Kawakami actually talked about what we did today. Run the ball, get turnovers, watch everybody else implode. What a genius 49ers playoff formula. Here's Matt's piece. Elijah Mitchell, Azeez Al-Shire, rise to the occasion at a gritty 49ers victory. I think that captures it. Here's Marcus Thompson. Jimmy Garoppolo exercises the Kirk Cousins demon, gets the 49ers back in the playoff hunt. And here's mine. It was opportunistic for the 49ers defense. This is what you call a team win. That's how I started this show. That's how I'm going to end it. Team win. They overcame a lot. They're 6-5. We're about to have some fun this month covering a football team that's really starting to surge, that has some potential in a very parity-filled, chaotic league. Subscribe. Talk to you all soon. Bye now.